My brother called me a kidnapper. At our mother's own dining room table in front of her, even though she didn't fully understand what he was saying anymore, he pointed at me and said I'd stolen her from the family. And the worst part? Some days I'm not sure he's entirely wrong. Okay, back up. My name's not important, but let's say I'm the one who stayed. My brother, Derek, moved to another city about 8 years ago for work, met someone, built a whole life out there. Good for him, genuinely. I'm not bitter about that part. But our mom, Carol, she stayed local, and so did I for the last 4 years. I've lived 20 minutes from her house. Derek is 6 hours away by plane. So when the calls started, the ones where mom would phone me at midnight asking where dad was, dad who passed 11 years ago, I was the one driving over. I was the one who started hiding her car keys because she kept getting lost on routes she'd driven for 30 years. I was the one calling her doctor, sitting in the appointments, signing the paperwork. Derek called on Sundays, sometimes. And look, I don't think Derek is a bad person. He sent money when I asked. He came at Christmas. He loves mom. I genuinely believe that. But love and presence are two very different things, and I was the one there at 2 in the morning when she left the stove on and didn't remember doing it. Breaking point came on a Tuesday in March. Mom had a fall, nothing broken, thank God, but she was on the floor for almost 2 hours before a neighbor heard her and called me. 2 hours. And here's the thing, I had been there the night before. I had checked the rugs, I had put the grab bars in the bathroom. I had done everything right, and it still happened. When I got to the hospital and the social worker sat me down, she was very calm and very clear. She said, "Your mother is not safe living alone. This is not a question anymore." And something in me just settled, like I'd been holding a breath for years and finally let it go. I called Derek from the hospital parking lot. I said, "We need to find a memory care facility. This can't wait." And Derek said, and I'm quoting him directly, "Let's not make any rash decisions. Let her recover and then we can all talk about it together." I told him the social worker said she couldn't go back to that house alone. He said, "Therapists always push the most drastic option. Let me do some research." Research. I said, "Derek, I've been doing the research for 4 years." He didn't have an answer for that, so I kept moving. I toured 3 facilities. I found one that had a garden because mom always loved gardens. A real one, not a sad patch of concrete roses, a little walking path, bird feeders. The staff knew her name within 2 days of the tour. I cried in the car afterward, but it was the good kind of cry, the kind where you know something is finally right. I called Derek to tell him I'd found the place. He said, "Great, let's loop in Aunt Patris and talk it through as a family." I said, "Mom can be admitted Thursday." There was a long pause. He said, "You already signed something?" I had. The deposit was paid. She was moving Thursday. Derek flew in Wednesday night. I didn't know he was coming until he was standing in Mom's living room when I arrived with the moving boxes. He wasn't there to help pack. He was there to stop me. He said I had made a unilateral decision about their mother's life without giving him a real vote. He said I had been carrying this caregiving burden, and it had warped my perspective, that I was seeing crisis where there was just normal aging. He said, and this is the part that genuinely shook me, he said, "You're exhausted and you're scared and you're making a permanent choice for a woman who can't fully advocate for herself, and you didn't think it was worth one family meeting." And I said, "I've been calling you for 4 years, Derek. Every single thing has been a conversation. And every time I needed a decision, you gave me a maybe. Someone had to decide." He said, "Not like this." Our Aunt Patris sided with Derek. She said the facility felt premature, that mom still had good days. And she wasn't wrong, mom does have good days. She had one that Wednesday actually, clear as a bell, laughing at old photos. Derek used that as evidence. I used it as heartbreak because I know what comes after the good days now. Mom moved in Thursday. I was there, Derek was not. He drove back to the airport that night and we haven't spoken properly since. The facility called last week to say mom had asked for the bird feeders to be moved closer to her window, and the staff did it without being asked twice. She seems settled. I don't know if that makes me right. I genuinely don't know. I made the call alone. I used money from the joint account Derek and I share for mom's care. I authorized a withdrawal he hadn't approved. I moved our mother into a locked memory unit without a family vote. I did all of that. And I would do it again on Thursday and the Thursday after that. So, am I the problem here? A few weeks later, Derek asked the facility if he could join a care meeting over video call. They said yes, he did it. He didn't apologize, and neither did I, but he asked the staff real questions, good ones actually, and at the end he said mom looked comfortable. That's all he said. Mom looked comfortable. I don't know if that's a white flag or just a man who still can't admit he wasn't there. I'm choosing to take it as something, I'm not sure what. What I keep coming back to is this: someone had to move. Someone had to stop waiting for the perfect moment when everyone agreed. I was the one who knew what 2 a.m. looked like in that house. I was the one who knew the good days were getting shorter. And I was the one who made the call. Maybe that was my right. Maybe it was an overreach I dressed up as necessity. Honestly, though, what would you have done? Comment below.